lot of things in our life are phases, and that's fine. It's morally neutral. I think the problem comes in when we start getting upset that a phase is just a phase and that it wasn't a lifelong thing. We got to stop that. What the hell is that? Why are we trying to make everything last forever? Hello there, and welcome back. We're still talking about psychology because I love brains. So I'm just going to kind of keep barreling forward. But first, I would like to pause and remind you to please sign up for my Patreon, The Creatives Rebellion. It is a place where we hang out. We've got a Discord. We've got, theoretically, activities. Sometimes we do them. I'm in a little bit of burnout, but I'm trying to at least show up like once a month to do a workshop or something. But I also want to start doing like Jackbox games and video streams, like where we watch a movie together and talk about it. The first one will probably be Jurassic Park if I have anything to say about it. But if you would like to suggest a movie for movie night, I recommend you get on over into the Patreon and sign the fuck up for that. Tiers start at $3. I would love it if everybody could get in at the $9 tier. That's like a really good energetic match for, I think, everything you get. You know, it's like one burrito. Like, yeah, I'll give Caitlin one burrito a month to live in my pocket and be a little encouraging fountain of whimsy. But also, if you don't have $9, $3 is fine. And I love you either way. So let's jump into our brains, shall we? Because the next stage of psychosocial development is adolescence. Like, it's time to buckle up because this is where a lot of my trauma personally lives. So we are looking at stage 5, identity versus role confusion. Identity versus role confusion. This is from age 12 to 18, approximately. It's roughly the adolescent years. While you're going through puberty, while you are in like middle and high school, teenage years. And just the phrase role confusion, I'm going to start off telling us a story. When I was 12, my sibling and I moved to Texas with our dad, mostly because we missed him and mom was kind of mean and we didn't want to live with her anymore. So I was like, I want to live with dad. And she was like, okie dokie. And I think he like came and got us and drove us down to Texas and it took 2 days and whatever. Here's where the role confusion comes in. Is interestingly, I feel like my parents individually are not great parents, but together they sort of balanced each other's weak spots out. So like my mom, very good at fulfilling our physical needs. We got to school on time. We had clothes that fit. She fed us. We had beds, you know, like, and she made sure that we got sleep and we did our homework. She took care of the basic needs. She didn't really care about emotional development or like compassion, let's say. She wasn't there on the emotional side of things. She was there taking care of physical needs, which, hey, cool. That is what she signed up for when she had children. She's like, okay, I will take care of these children physically. Never really super engaged with the emotional aspects of mothering. But that's neither here nor there. Just kidding. It's absolutely relevant because this is what we're talking about. My dad, on the other hand, has always been like fun-loving and friendly, and he wanted to be our friend more than he knew how to be a parent and like a parental presence. So he knew, pick the kids up, take them to Cedar Point. You know, he's like a Disney dad, kind of, if we ever went to Disney. He was there for fun, for weekend visitations, for Christmas. Living with him, I do not think that man knew what he was doing. And honestly, even he didn't know what he was doing. He said that over Christmas, where he's like, I had no idea what I was doing with them. Okay, all right. We could have read a book, but it's fine. So I started kind of being the mom of the house at 12. And that, my friends, will fuck up a 12-year-old a little bit. So rather than my dad making sure that we had clean clothes and making sure that we had healthy meals and making sure that we got on the bus and all of this stuff, I was doing it. So I learned how to use the washer and dryer. I got us both on the bus. You know, I made sure that we did homework in the evenings. There were some nights where dinner was like frozen Tyson chicken breasts that we got from Sam's Club. We would just microwave them until they were cooked and then we would eat them. Maybe instant mashed potatoes or ramen or something. I am not 100% sure where our dad was like every day. I can't remember. This whole time is a blur. And I don't think that he was like off carousing and neglecting us. I think he was probably working late or just sort of like wasn't present. I do also know that sometimes he drank and was out of commission. And so somebody had to step up, and it was me. Meanwhile, I am not coping well adjusting to a new school. This was my third school in 6th grade. So I'm 12, and I have gone from a school that I knew and classmates I knew and teachers I knew to another elementary school where, so in some places, 6th grade is still elementary school, and in other places, 6th grade starts middle school. So I was bouncing around. I think it was an elementary school and then an elementary school and then a middle school. So at this second elementary school, we were living with my mom and her partner at the time. And he, I don't think, wanted to have children all up in his shit. Like, his kids were grown and adult. And I don't think he cared much for the fact that mom brought children into his life. But also fine. Like, he tolerated us. We had a place to live. Good job us. Good job, mom. You know, again, she takes care of the basic needs. And to be really honest, I think that relationship was probably not in her best interest. And I don't think she really wanted to be in that relationship, but she did to take care of us. And it's like, that's why I have a lot of complicated emotions about my mom. Because, like, yes, she traumatized and abused me, but I also know that she too was traumatized and abused, and she made a lot of decisions out of survival instead of agency. The problem comes in when she then tried to, like, control us and not give us any agency. So, you know, therapy may have helped. I hope she's in therapy now. I heard she has a dog. I hope that's great for her. So, moved in with mom and the boyfriend. We went to this school for a little while, and then my sibling and I were both like, we don't really like it here. We would like to go move in with dad. And before we moved in with dad, first of all, I made mom teach me how to shave my armpits because I had started to grow hair under my arms. And of course I was mortified because ew, body hair. And now I am not a shaver because fuck you. I'm not going to pay extra money just to keep myself in razors and hairlessness and itchy bumps. No thanks. That would kill her. She thinks I'm so gross. And like, I have to bring that up in therapy a lot is like, oh, my mom would think like it's gross that I don't shave my legs. Like, one time she told me I looked Amish, and I'm like, what? Like, why does it matter? What does it matter to you if I shave my legs or not? But whatever. She had her own issues with performing femininity, just like I have my own issues with performing whatever gender roles, getting back to role confusion. That's like the purpose of this psychosocial stage is where kids are learning like who they are and what they want, right? That's the identity part, is coming into like this really solidified, this is what my personality is. It's a time where we were supposed to like try on a lot of new things, you know, try different sports, different activities, different music, you know, maybe you're in band, maybe you're in orchestra, maybe you're in choir. There's so many extracurriculars because kids are testing to see what they like. And this is a really important phase in our development in adolescence where we get to try stuff on and think, well, do I like this? Do I like being on the track team? Do I like being in I was going to say a book club, but I don't think there's book clubs in middle school. But like an after school club, art club, Spanish club, you know, there's all sorts of ways to get involved. And then that also is going to like prepare us for college, where we are going to be able to continue getting into groups and clubs and sports and activities that we like under less watchful eyes. I mean, not necessarily less watchful, like colleges are still keeping an eye on kids, but like without our parents there picking us up and dropping us off and checking in about our day. Like once you get to college, the independence comes in a little bit more. And I do want to keep this in like that middle and high school range. So I'm going to bring it back and talk about my life some more. Okay. So I'm taking care of my sibling. I'm making dinner. Our dog escaped all the time. So like dad would have to go drive around the neighborhood to find Daisy, just stuff. And he was there when he was there. I wish I had more to say, but like, honestly, it's missing like a big chunk of my life between like 7 and 14 is pretty hazy. I just remember like snippets. And part of that is just because it's been so long. But the other part of that is because I was going through a lot of shit that my brain was not yet equipped to handle. So like having to navigate planning for a household and making sure like dad knew we need to go to the grocery store and all this other stuff. And like, he didn't really pay attention to what we ate. We were eating like ice cream, hot dogs, just sort of like whatever food was in the house. If we needed to eat, we ate it. And mom did not like that. She weighed us before we moved in with dad, and then she weighed us when we came back, and she was upset that we had gained weight. But also, like, we're growing children, so like some weight gain is to be expected. Just gonna throw that one out there. Upon returning to our mom's house, because Jess and I both were like, Texas is very hot, and also this is hard. Like we literally went back to mom, even though mom was like meaner on the surface, because mom was structured and like took care of things in a way that dad wasn't. And again, I don't remember the details of this. Dad thinks mom convinced us to move back, but I don't think that was the case. I think we talked to her about it and like we had some input in that decision. However, a little bit of the damage was done because once we moved back in with mom, I was still sort of like mothering my sibling, and I was still coming in and like trying to do more parental role things, which led to conflict between my sibling and I, as well as between my mom and I, because she's like, what are you doing? That's my job. And I was like, I can't help it. Like I had to do this job. So I got sort of stuck into that caretaker role. That's been there the whole time. So like at 12, I became a caretaker and a parent, and it's been 25 years, and I am like literally still working on unpacking that in therapy and realizing that I don't have to be taking care of everybody's needs. I did it in 2 marriages. I got married for the first time when I was 21. Don't recommend that. He was the first boyfriend I ever had, the first boy who ever kissed me, the first everything, if you catch my drift. And I thought it was a fluke, and I didn't think anybody would ever love me or that I would find a loving relationship, because my mother told me I wouldn't, because I was disgusting. And nobody wants to be with somebody who's gross. And I was gross because I was fat. So we've got that, which also kind of primed me to like latch onto him. And I didn't know I had no idea what it meant to be in a relationship that was good for me. Like I had no idea. I was just like, well, he likes me and I like that. So I did whatever he wanted so that he would stay with me. And that is not a healthy basis for a relationship, my friends. That's not how we make decisions. Okay, so like the checkbox used to be like, he doesn't hit me and he has a paycheck and he's pretty nice. It's 2026. We don't have to be doing that anymore. There's so much more to life. Do you and your potential partner have the same interests? Do you have the same goals in life? Are you headed in the same kind of direction? I didn't know any of these because I didn't know myself, because rather than developing my own identity from 12 to 18 in my adolescence, I was role confused, we'll call it. I wasn't sure what the hell it looked like to be me in a way that wasn't like warped into a caretaker. And I'm still not 100% sure, interestingly. So let's get more into the psychology stuff instead of just me talking about my childhood. So the virtue gained in this stage is fidelity, which is like the ability to stay true to yourself. Cool. This means that if you are somebody who is sort of like a social chameleon and you like feel somebody out before you let part of yourself out, and you will match their energy and you don't really overstep the limit of what you know to be safe, that points to a problem in this stage. That points to not knowing for sure what your identity is and what you are all about and who you are as a person. So then it leads to like confusion. I mean, that's just in the name, role confusion. And we've got like insecurity, low self-esteem, potentially like rebellion if you're not sure who you are and maybe like the parents or the people around you, school, peers, whatever, if they try to like shape you into something, you could respond in like rebellion and being like, well, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. And then you just go do whatever the opposite of that is. I think that was more of my sibling. I heavily masked to fit in academically because I wanted to have like a safe piece of my identity. And so for a lot of my life, being like the smart girl was my identity. And that's not really an identity. That's like a characteristic or a trait, but that's not who I am. And so like any experimentation into figuring out who I am is very uncomfortable for me. If you want to go back to like the earliest videos on YouTube or the earliest episodes of this podcast, you can see me change like throughout the years that I've been doing this. I'm now in my 5th year of doing this. We just had our 200th episode. Awesome. So I've changed even in those 5 years. You know, I've changed so much from being like, oh, I will come in as an expert, as someone who is teaching on these topics. And now I'm just like, what's up, guys? Here's my brain this week. And I like that better. And it seems like you like that better because we've got more subscribers and more people watching and more people commenting. So I'm going to assume that that's working. And I just caught the fact that I was like, I assume that's working. What does that mean? What does it's working mean? Does that mean my numbers are growing? Does that mean I'm making money? Does that mean I have value as a person based on the numbers going up? There was a time that would have been the answer. And now I'm just excited to talk to more people because I think I have cool things to say. And I like that. I like it for all of us. Another thing we've got going on in stage 5 here is like kind of testing boundaries, trying different things, going through phases. So classic is parents saying like, well, that's just a phase that you're going through. And the kid's like, no, it's not, Mom. But a lot of things in our life are phases, and that's fine. It's morally neutral. I think the problem comes in when we start getting upset that a phase is just a phase and that it wasn't a lifelong thing. We got to stop that. What the hell is that? Why are we trying to make everything last forever? Some stuff is temporary. Every single year, the flowers bloom in my front yard and then they die. Every single year in my front yard, there are caterpillars and then they either get eaten or they turn into butterflies or something else happens to them. Every single thing is temporary and fleeting. And we try to like really pin down a lot of stuff into being a forever aspect of our lives. The point of stage 5 is that the constant in your life should be you and your identity and who you are. It's not what you do, it's who you are. And I know I have said that before because I'm pretty sure it was like on a thumbnail image for one of the YouTube videos. But like everything is going to come back to that. Everything is going to come back to who you are is more important than what you do. But also what you do is more important than what you say. So like, you know, there's words, there's intentions, there's actions you take, and there's who you are. And as long as your actions line up with who you are, you will have harmony there. You know your identity, you know your values, you know what you're about. And then when you get into that like kind of confused state, that's where you're not really sure who you are. You're not really sure what actions to take. So you're easily like swayed. Somebody could come in and be like, oh, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you have this college major? Why don't you get this job in this career? And if you have no idea who you are and what you want out of life, you will just follow other people's prompts and either do okay or accidentally find something you love, or you'll be miserable. I don't want to be miserable. I don't want you to be miserable. I think we need to find little joyous places where we can be our real and true selves. And that starts very small. You know, it starts with your relationship with you, whether you journal or you meditate or you just, I don't know, walk around the block every morning and think to yourself. Your relationship with you has to be one of trust. Right? We go all the way back to infancy, trust and mistrust. You have to build trust with yourself that is based on following through on stuff that really reflects you and who you are. Not well, it's January 1st, and so I've made a bunch of New Year's resolutions, and I'm going to achieve my destiny when I finalize all 5 of these new habits, and I'm going to change my life. That is not necessarily you and yourself building trust. That is you trying to achieve a list of tasks. How much do those tasks actually line up with who you are and who you want to be and what you want your future to look like? Because if they are just, well, I don't know, everybody's doing it. Everybody wants to go to the gym in January. Everybody wants to lose weight in the new year. Everybody. I don't care what everybody's doing. I want to know what you want to do. And like, if your fitness goal is that you want to get jacked so that you can like go to a protest and feel like you could stand in front of somebody and like defend them, do that. You know, having non-scale fitness goals, I think, is very powerful. You know, I want to punch a Nazi. I want to throw soup for my family. Whatever the thing is. As long as it's for you, that's cool. I'm cool with it. Permission granted. Like you need me for permission. So here's where Erikson and Freud get together for just a second. In this stage, not only are we figuring out like occupational roles, we are also figuring out sexual roles. So this is like figuring out sexuality, figuring out gender feelings can be happening here. A couple years ago, I did a story for the Buckeye Flame, which is Ohio's only all-state, all LGBTQ newsroom. And I interviewed some people from different GSAs around Ohio, and that is Gender and Sexuality Alliances. When I was a kid, it was Gay Straight Alliances. I'm glad that they kept the acronym and updated the language, because there's a lot more to it than like, oh, it's gays and it's straights. No, it's gender and sexuality are fluid, and this gives people a space to be exploring and questioning and asking different things while they figure out their identity. I did not have this as a high schooler. I got all the way through college thinking I was a heterosexual woman, a concept which now makes me laugh a lot. And I love that high schools have more GSAs now because it means that more kids are being exposed to the language that can help them refer to their own identity. Because before we had things like this, before it was okay to talk about queerness in public, kids thought they were fucked up and messed up and they had to keep their identities a secret. And now kids don't have to be closeted because we have unshamed being queer. Is that work done? Absolutely not. You can see all of my Wrath Month videos from last year where I just get pissed about the setbacks in queer rights activism. That is all June of 2025. 4 episodes where I am raging against the cis-het patriarchy. So kids like have the language to explore this stuff. Kids are kissing. Kids are canoodling. Kids are exploring sexuality, whether we like it or not. I was a very good kid. Part of my identity was being a good kid. So I did not drink. I did not smoke. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. Smoked joint. Don't love smoking. Would much rather eat an edible. But I've never smoked a cigarette. I have never done any drugs besides weed. And I did not have sex until I was 18. Nor did I kiss. Nor did I do any of that. I didn't date because boys didn't want to date me. Fun fact. And I had no idea I was queer. And if I did know I was queer, I probably would have been a little bisexual freak in middle school, being like, I have a girlfriend. And I know what that would have looked like because my sibling did that and was like, Mom, this is my girlfriend. I'm bisexual. And Mom was like, it's just a phase. And even if it is just a phase, it's your job to go through phases. It is an adolescent's job to go through phases and figure out what actually suits you, what actually sticks. That's literally the time to explore all this stuff. Don't be a hater. Don't be a hater just because you didn't get to explore your own self in your adolescence. Mom. Again, my mother has been through some shit. She got married when she was 16. She had her first baby when she was almost 18. So like, my mom didn't get this phase. My mom didn't get to form her own identity, but then she took it out on us. And that's the part I'm not a big fan of. Go feel your feelings. Leave me out of it though. Thank you. Okay, so the phases, the sexuality, the all this. Just to note for all the people who are like, they're transing our kids. No, they're not. There's just language now. There is just a destigmatization of having gender and sexuality feelings and questions and thoughts. It's safe to explore those things. Chill out. Like, you know who's not in the Epstein files? Drag queens. So I need everybody to chill the fuck out, because the people who are grooming and predators of children are the rich white men. Okay? I need you to just let that one sink in for a second and don't come at me about queer people ever. Thank you. Okay, what else do we got, Erikson? Booyah. Another very important part of stage 5 is exploring diversity and being exposed to diversity, which is like, that was a big part of college for me, was like meeting out gay people for the first time. I think I had one gay friend in high school, and like he didn't come out until maybe close to the end of high school. Actually, I don't really remember because it's all a blur. But I had one gay friend in high school, and I was like, cool, that is my sample size of one. I know one gay person, and Lance Bass. And I don't even know if Lance Bass was out yet. Let me check on that. When did Lance Bass come out? 2006. Okay, literally. So the summer I graduated from high school, Lance Bass came out as gay. That's how exposed to gay culture I was. I didn't even have Lance Bass yet. So I go into college and I'm like, I don't know what gay people are like. And I meet some gay people and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, you seem fine. And then I met a friend who didn't like gay people until she met other gay people. Because turns out like she and this guy at our college, they had gone to high school together, and she did not like him because he was kind of a dick. And then whenever they had a conflict, he would tell her that she was being homophobic and that she must not like gay people. And so she came to college thinking she didn't like gay people. And it turns out she just didn't like Ryan. And I think that's fine, because the more gay people she met, the more she realized they weren't a monolith, and Ryan was not representative of 100% of gay people. And that is what is happening here, is we are meeting different people. We're being exposed to different types of people in media. This is why children's books and young adult books and like the books and movies and stories that we are consuming in our adolescence and early adulthood need to show diversity. And this is why it really freaks me out when like far right groups try to like ban critical race theory and DEI. Like, why are you so nervous about talking about race? And it's because they want to control the narrative. And if kids are learning about the history of our country, terribly treating any minority, any non-white group, then kids will have to wrestle with the fact that like, oh, well, I think that's pretty wrong. And so I need to like recalibrate my moral compass and realize that maybe not everything I was raised in is correct or fits my ethics or fits the identity I am building. This is where like a lot of evangelical and religious trauma sits as well, is in this like identity phase where a lot of kids are exploring their sexuality, and then kids with like super strict religious parents are told about sin and hell and all of that stuff. So this is a prime time to fuck up your kid as they are on the precipice of adulthood. Just saying. This is where a lot of my inner child work lives. This is when I talk about like my inner teen. My inner teen is about 14, 15. And I just remembered my goth phase. I was very experimental in high school with like hair color and makeup, and I dressed kind of goth for a little bit. And the lunch lady was like, honey, are you okay? Because I'm like wearing all black and I had like a choker and like dark eyeshadow on. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Why? And it was a phase, kind of. Like, I still like to wear, I like goth fashion. It's nice. I don't have the patience to be putting all that on, though. I don't need to jingle. But, like, you play with fashion. You play with your hair. You play with expression. I wasn't allowed to, like, dye my hair until I was, like, 16. And then my mom was like, sure, whatever. Get a box dye as long as it's a natural color. And so I got burgundy, which is not a natural color. That shit was purple. But it was a mom-approved purple. And yeah, so then I had purple hair in high school for a minute, and people were like, ooh, sick, look at Caitlin with purple hair. And it felt weird because I was like getting attention that I didn't think fit my identity. I like, whenever I went into like a new friend group or something, like I had an art class with people that like I only saw in this art class, and they were talking about smoking a bowl and doing whatever. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I thought people were smoking like cereal bowls full of weed. I had no idea what a bowl meant. And that took me until my 20s to figure out. And that's on me, and it's fine. So, okay, this one was a little bit more storytelling, with like direct links to my specific experience in childhood. But I'm very curious to hear from you as you listen, like what resonated. Can you think back to your middle and high school days and like the things you experimented with and the things that you were able to learn about yourself? And did that stifle your identity development, or did it allow you to get clearer on your identity development? It's a tricky spot to be in, but I'm going to leave us here for the week, and we'll pick it up next week. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Bye.
They'll change your approach and tell you a joke to lighten your load and help you along or sing you a song. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do.